So I'm going to talk a little bit something else than AI and tech. I'm going to talk about growing stronger in complexity, and yeah, we'll see where this goes. If this goes. Okay, here's a little bit about me. So I've been in data engineering for a bit of over 3 years now, 10 years plus in consulting, 20 years in workforce. So a bunch of stuff has happened. I'm a co-founder at Invinite. We do healthcare data consulting. And also I'm a founder of Data Tribe. It's a community in Finland, data community, and Helsinki Data Week, which is an event week this year, end of October also. I've done a bunch of stuff in my life. I started as a flight attendant. I lived in England, in UAE, in Abu Dhabi. I did that for a few years, traveled the world. Moved back to Finland, studied acting for a year. Went to Las Vegas for a few months. Partied, played poker. Haven't drank since. It was 15 years ago. That taught me a lot about B2B sales, by the way. Also, I studied economics for 2 years, jumped into payroll. I worked as a payroll analyst. I lived in Estonia for a few years. After that, moved back to Finland. I worked as a project manager about 8 years. I did business process development, integrations, whatnot, like all kinds of different projects between payroll, HR, accounting. I burned out after 8 years. I was kind of like, what am I going to do? Who am I? I started learning programming from all of the things and also photography. So I became a photographer. I did that professionally for a few years, worked at an ad agency as well as an entrepreneur. Yeah, I graduated, became a data engineer eventually, which is like not the most linear path. But what I'm going to talk about now is something that we should all think about. Maybe the linear path is not always the best because there are many other skills in tech that actually makes things work. So let's move forward. Tech's hardest problem isn't technical. What do you think it is? Yeah, we are the problem. It's human. That's my talk. Thank you very much. Yeah, it doesn't take long for AI to realize that we are actually the problem. So we should hard code that do not delete human when we're training. At the moment, and for a long time, a high majority of teams, systems, and organizations are not aligned. We see this every day. We're all here solving the same problem with different solutions, different tech, different processes, different frameworks. I don't know if anyone has like a perfectly aligned people, process, socio-technical system. I have not seen that. It's a unicorn, or I don't know, does it even exist? So, and where we are and where we have always been is tech development outpaces human adaptability. We're fairly slow, and that's okay. We get tech, like new tech, like all the time, exponentially faster. You know, we are complaining about Wi-Fi when we're flying through the air because we are like just, you know, we're not really, you know, built for the tech. We are humans, and that's a good thing. But we need to now think how we can use that as a strength instead of trying to keep up with the tech. So we need to turn this around. You know, there's so many silos. People are short-term focused. There's burnout. There's mistrust in systems, leadership, each other. We're all afraid. We're not feeling well. Are we feeling well? Do you feel well in this world right now? Does it feel a bit maybe complex? Does it give anxiety? I mean, I'm feeling that every day. You know, it's a weird time where we're living at, and something has to change, and it's not a tool. It's not a new tool necessarily what we need. The status, the proportion of highly mature companies has dropped to just 8%. This was last year. 8%. All the work we do It's 8%. And it's even going lower. So, are we focusing on the right things? Why are we stuck? Our thinking might be outdated. We have evolutionary baggage. Survival required left brain precision. It's logic. It's very, you need to survive, you need to think in precision. It's short term. Long term thinking was secondary. Industrial revolution, it was efficiency over exploration. I don't know if industrial age is still very efficient in the world, in the working ways and what we're doing today in knowledge work. We need to be more human. We don't need maybe necessarily more efficient factories in knowledge, thinking, creativity, innovation. But our brain still resists this ambiguity, and it wants these quick and detail-oriented solutions. We all want that magic bullet. We want to have that quick solution. This is how the human brain works, because I'm a neuroscientist as well, I'm not. But we have right and left brain. That we all know. Left brain is logical, detail-oriented, obsessed with control. It's the logic, science, sense of time, language. Then we have the right brain, context, creativity, connection, empathy, art, creativity, intuition, imagination. These were not the industrial age stuff that was needed. These were not the survival stuff that was needed. So we're not using our brain, our whole brain, because this was what was and has been rewarded, incentivized. So it has overshadowed the quieter context-aware partner. This is the long-term thinker. And there's a book by Ian McGilchrist, I don't know if I'm spelling it right, but there's a dominance of the left hemisphere, and you can see this in the history. It's a very interesting concept if you start thinking about it, in the history, how things have worked. And these are the symptoms. Organizations are focusing on the KPIs without understanding their impact. Teams deliver perfect dashboards that no one uses. Everybody has done their work. But is there any sense to it? Everybody goes home, yeah, I delivered. Yeah. Has it brought any value to anyone? Efficiency over empathy. There's competition. We're competing against each other when we should be collaborating. We're competing. It's inbuilt, and it's not serving us. Execution over imagination. In organizations, people are afraid to talk their minds, their ideas, because they're afraid they're going to be shamed or whatever. There are a lot of fears. We're all carrying those. So you can only think how this affects what we're doing. These are very human things that we need to solve. I call this the bridge skills. It's just a word I made up, but I think it's like a good word to build that corpus callus. We have that in between our brain hemispheres. We need to combine these. It's not either or. It's not left brain. It's not right brain. It's not either or, which is perfect or which is not. But when we actually use both, we become analytical, but we're also thinking in long term, and we're empathetic, but we're logical. So one thing, there's empathy, but systems thinking is super important. We need to understand what kind of systems we are working in. So there are a lot of systems, larger systems, smaller systems, subsystems in the world, in our organizations. We are carrying a lot of weight from our own families, the society, so many systems that we are not realizing that we're living in. So systems thinking is something that I really encourage everybody to look into. There's a good book by Donald Meadows, Thinking in Systems. So you start seeing what's really affecting you and what is driving you, or you're not really realizing it. And storytelling, super important. So empathy, the ability to see the world through someone else's eyes. Going back to my career, I've met thousands and thousands of different kinds of people. I think that taught me so much, just understanding each other's perspectives. I don't believe in like DEI just because of it, but I think there needs to be a diversity in thought. This means we need people from different backgrounds, and that builds empathy when you start seeing the world in different ways. And this means we need empathy to build trust and collaboration, because it makes you be able, it enables you to be vulnerable in the environment you're in. And it activates the brain's mirror neurons, and it creates the foundation for connection. There's a study that these mirror neurons, which are super important to create that connection, they're not activated with it, like in video calls or via screens. How many, how many video calls do you have per day compared to real connection? It feels so good to be here today with like real humans and like sharing ideas, and these are super important that we all gather together once in a while just to talk, because that's human. And these are the moments when we actually create new things and we learn from each other. So yeah, just seeing the whole, not just the parts. And you understand how your short-term actions go into the long-term consequences. You start seeing, okay, the US is playing very short-term at the moment. Europe is playing very long-term. China is playing the longest term. So we start seeing things in different, in different terms. And storytelling, you're framing information in a new way. We like storytelling. It's in our nature to gather around the bonfire and talk and tell stories. We don't want to see just tables and raw data. Well, we might want to because we're weird, but not everyone. And narratives are the ones that actually make the impact in the organization. When you want to actually make an impact, you need to frame it in a way that the other person feels it somehow affecting them and what they are doing and their goals. So that's how we survive. We make sense of the complexity, and that's how we can actually turn the analysis to action. So it's not just showing the data, it's explaining it and telling a story. So we need to rebalance ourselves and the systems, as I said earlier. And AI automation, it's replacing mostly left brain dominant jobs. It's based on logic, based on rules, something you can automate. So people who are only relying on the left side jobs, it's not a good position to be in. You have to shift right. Usually people are talking about shifting left, but I'm going to talk shifting right, because you're going to make yourself more competitive when you start actually relying on your right brain as well. And there's a term called anti-fragile. How many has read the book? I really recommend that in this day and age. It's the opposite of fragile. It's not robust, because anti-fragile means that you grow stronger under stress. So how do we grow stronger under stress? That's another talk almost, but we need to become better under pressure. And at the moment, we're failing in that because we're afraid. And we need to realize that we're afraid, and we need to start becoming more anti-fragile. And it comes to the soft skills, which I really hate the word, and I will come back to it in a second. But we actually need to think about this in our hiring, and we need to value the adaptability of people. We need to hire people who are fast learners. They say you need to fail fast, but you need to also learn fast. It doesn't make anything if you just try and fail, if you don't learn or if you don't adapt. And this is hard to do in large corporations. So we're going to see also very different kinds of organizations in the future with agentic AI, because we need to be moving faster. We need to adapt more. And the more we have people, the harder it is to turn the ship. We need new talent in tech. I mean, it's a pretty homogenous crowd usually in data conferences, you know? And I think we can all do better in a way that we can speak up for our own things. I think a lot of people are afraid of saying what they think, or they think that it's like, okay, my opinion is not important, but it is. And also for women, I feel like we need more women from different kinds of backgrounds in tech, because the diversity, like the diverse thoughts are so important. It can be men, but like, you know, these are stereotypical, maybe female jobs, let's say nurses. They would work amazingly in data teams. I mean, these people work under pressure and they have systems thinking, they have empathy, you know. We could actually drive so much impact in organizations when we have different kinds of talent in our teams. So in hiring-wise, this is important. And this is the soft skills. It's actually a term from the US Army from the 60s, 70s. And it was just to differentiate between hard skills and soft skills in a way that hard skills were these technical skills. But soft skills were soft, like leadership. Like leadership in military is not very soft, I would say. It's actually a super hard skill. So what happened, I think like the corporate America in the 80s took the term soft skills, HR, and turned into something else. But these are actually something to think about. Good communication, decision making, these go under soft skills. And our human brain is lazy, right? So soft, when we hear the word soft, hard, you know, we assume it's less, but it's not. That's why I call them bridge skills. Because they're the hardest skills, because they connect something what's broken and we're rebuilding things. Thank you. I wanted to make this into a dialogue also. I want to hear your thoughts. Do we have time? Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you feel about this? Does it make sense? Any questions? What do you want to say? We can have a group therapy right now.
No, I really like that talk. One thing I'm just interested, so we have obviously the big push for efficiency, and I totally agree with the value of your bridge skills in there. But how do we then get organizations to value that as it produces value back as a dollar value that then they can go, well, if we invest in good leadership, good management, good people and process, we're going to get more money out of it, which is fundamentally what most organizations are working towards.
I think you just measure the right things. I think we are measuring the wrong things.
I would say the word just there is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like GDPR, GDPR. I'm saying like, what's it called?
GDP?
Yes, that's from the 1740s. Why are we measuring something that was made up in the 1740s? Do we need growth? We are just stupid. We need to rethink. That's why I'm saying we're just relying on things that were like, what was the previous generation doing? I don't know why, but now we're doing the same thing. We're just taking it we're not thinking what we're doing. And I don't know why it is. I think it's like we're not using our brain. We're too conformed.
Well, I think that's because thinking is hard. And I think you're absolutely right.
We don't have time.
Yeah, because we're just trying to type faster.
Sometimes we just need to take a walk. Why do we feel bad taking a walk during the workday? Because that's where our best thoughts usually come, in the shower, whatever. It's the times that when having a cigarette, yeah, I know. But these should be valued. So we are not measuring the time that we should be taking the walks. We're measuring the time that the mouse is moving on the team so it shows green. Is it giving value to anyone? It's giving stress, anxiety, lack of ideas, fear, sickness. So we should start measuring the walks, I think.
Sounds like a brilliant idea.
Or skiing. No injuries.
Any more questions? I think a lot of it is also tied to how we pay people, right? We pay them by hour. So a fundamental change would have to happen to actually pay the regular employee by task or by output or by result, and then it wouldn't matter how they come up with it.
Yeah.
But that's such a trust fall that I think it's unlikely to happen.
This has to change from both like the clients and the, what we're selling. The clients has to sort of trust and buy the product or outcome, not hours. A lot of consulting businesses go by the hour. I think it's the worst thing because not only consultancy, yeah.
Sorry, so if you're employed at a large corporation as a regular employee, you're paid for, I don't know, 40, 60 hours a week, right? This is not consulting business.
Yeah.
This is any employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is also a made-up thing. It's a made-up thing. Who made up 8 hours? Who made up 7.5 hours? Why couldn't it be 6 and have a walk? These are made-up things. We're living in a really imaginary world. We're LARPing at the moment. These are not favoring us, so we need to rethink how we are going to go forward. And we're free to do it. US is doing their thing. What are we doing? Europe has to stand up and Europe has to do their own thing. We need to change and we need to be not afraid. So we've been very fortunate for a long time, but I think now we need to step up a bit and rethink what we're doing.
Can I say one more thing? We're also in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, these 8 hours a day were invented, so you have 8 hours work, 8 hours leisure time, 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And if you do physical work or you work at a supermarket, then all of those concepts we are discussing here, they do not apply to you. So we are very, I don't know.
We are our own
privileged in our ways, and we request those things, but we're also a very small part of most organizations. So for them to fundamentally change how they act based on, I don't know, 5% of their employees is also probably a big ask. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's probably a good idea, but...
Yeah, this is a very European mindset because very, very collective. We have unions, we think in everybody has to do the same thing in a way. We should maybe start moving more like thinking and trying, failing, learning. I think there's a balance between the American and European culture. We could learn both from each other. Yeah. Any questions?
Yes.
Yep.
So Eva, I really like your talk because it's very similar to essentially what we do in analytics, I would say, compared to data engineering. It's very, very good. And especially the point about the workers having a diverse background, because I think that in many industries, of course, the problem is not technology, not even people, sometimes it's domain knowledge. For example, in marketing, but also in finance, sometimes you get some analysis or you get some implementations and you're like, who the fuck prepared this? This is basic knowledge. Why would you measure this metric instead of this one? And that's because many companies don't really hire the relevant people. They see maybe a degree, a PhD, and they're like, I like you. You're technical. But they forgot about this, not really soft, as you said, but this side, which is the actual knowledge, the domain knowledge of your industry.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I agree with everything.
So I agree also totally with you. At the same time, I don't have much hope. Just like if you take an example, for example, I was observing last year, this year, how juniors try to land a job in the data world. And what we expect from them, that is nothing new. They are writing 2 years of, a full engineer study, of course, 2 years of experience, having led something, et cetera, et cetera. We know that beginners already have this high expectations to have a job in data. And then I think how will that be for someone from another background? Yeah. I don't see it, and it makes me a bit sad also.
I think it's a very prejudiced industry we're at. I think there's also a lack of knowledge in like hiring. And I think managers need to rethink what actually makes the impact in the organization. There's a lot of change management in data. And often, if you become a data engineer straight from a technical university, you might not have the experience that it takes to actually drive the impact, because that is change management, and it's very different than data engineering. And that's fine, but we need to either we need to gather the teams from different types, but I feel data engineers are really cognitively burned out right now, because they're expected to build these amazing things, but also talk to the stakeholders, find out what, we need more, we need to shift more in the domains to have like their personal analysts working there, but also we need to have like in the data teams sort of a buffer to help the data engineers. And this could be the people with different skills, like not as deeply technical necessarily, they could be, but someone who can speak both languages with the stakeholders. And yeah, I hope you have hope. There's in the back as well.
Just a comment on the hiring and the focusing on the what, not the how. I was at a roundtable a couple of weeks ago with a bunch of technical leaders, and someone said, I have a real problem hiring because every time we phone an engineer, I can hear them solving the problem with ChatGPT in the background. And someone else said, but isn't that what you're employing them to do? Like, that is their role.
Yeah.
And, why do you care how they come up? You gave them a complicated solution, they came up with a complicated problem, they came up with a solution quickly. Now you're complaining about how they did it?
Yeah.
But these are senior technical leaders who are have completely not got their head around changing their hiring policies and approaches.
Yeah.
In the modern era.
Exactly, and that's leadership. Leadership is always the problem, right? Nothing for us to blame. It's always the leaders, right? No, but yeah, you're right.
One more question.
Sorry. Hi.
We're working in the media industry, and we're seeing like a lot of these bubble buildings and people getting more fragmented every day and disappearing in their Telegram channels. I would love to see data connect them again. I would love to get the data from sources we can't get yet. Like, I don't know what people are sending on Telegram because they're secret groups, and I would love to get these data to see like what do we need to talk about more so people come back to the public space again, and use these data to connect and storytell through our media corporations to have this foundation stronger, because now everyone is in their bubbles and their algorithms, and I would love to see the data closing these gaps. I just don't know how to get these data.
We need to start people talking to each other. What I'm doing in Finland, I'm building grassroots communities. I think those are really healthy because we need people. There's a lot of teams that are only like one or two in like smaller companies. They don't have anybody to talk to. So what I think, like, we need to have these like grassroots communities, just like low-key hangouts where people can talk and genuinely just build the connections. Like I said, we need to become more human again. Just like a quick note to that, like, if we're getting more free time, why don't we use it wisely? Not just being more productive. Like, let's use that time to connect with other humans and now we have the time, we just don't know how. We don't know how to be human. We know how to be more efficient, but we need to like cut on that and give us like a little bit of like community and rebuild. I think that's the solution. Yeah.
It's exactly my next question. Do you have some, for example, you wrote a book, Fundamentals of Data Engineering, fine for university from technical background, not college, something like that, to data engineering. But do you have some aside for converting to the soft skill segment of the
That's the book you're writing now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's in the book. Yeah, I think it's a good question. And that's another problem, that these actually take longer to develop than the technical.
That's right, because they are mainly introverts.
Yeah. And it's okay, but we need to sort of like, yeah, and those people, like, exactly. So we need to figure out how to learn from each other, and diversity, I think, is the key. Like, we need to inject into the teams very different people, so people learn from each other. That's, I think, in short.
Cool. I think we're going to have to
Thank you so
move
much.
on. But thank you, Eva. Great talk.